just west of Edgewater for 12C. This is the the chip seal section for the SPS-3 study. Moving on up, generally we had less distress in this roadway than we had, or in this section here, than we had on the others. The distress that we see are transverse cracking, longitudinal cracking, and some low and medium severity alligator cracking. And there you can see some of the alligator cracking, and again you see some spalling there on the corners of the pieces, which is what's putting it into moderate severity. There's a moderate severity longitudinal crack. And the moderate severity transverse crack. The crack width being averaging slightly more than 1/4 of an inch. In general, we don't have the aerial extent of cracking within this test section that we did in some of the others. In most of the others, it varied within the test section. There would be portions of it which had it and some which didn't. But in here, we have cracking throughout, but it's pretty much uniform from one excuse me, one area within the test section to another. You see generally the same types of distress. The alligator cracking is intermittent in nature. We see a lot of transverse cracks, and also a lot of these little ones that you, according to the distress ID manual, you're not supposed to identify as a transverse crack, because the length of them is less than 6 feet. Can't even talk anymore. We rearranged the order of the test sections and had the chip seal come after one of the supplemental sites, because the remaining sites here are not going to include something like an overlay. They're going to be chip seals. I don't want to bias the results on any of the slurry type sections due to problems which may occur with the chip seal. This is probably the most substantial area of cracking, and you can see in general low severity alligator cracking here in the outside wheel path. It's just a small area, but what we have is some small areas where we have some alligator cracking, and then it ends and reverts back to the longitudinal, even in the inside wheel path. Much of that cracking over there, most of it is noted as longitudinal cracking rather than alligator. It's a difficult distinction to make sometimes between one and the other. But the general rule is just the intersecting pieces. If you have a longitudinal crack and there's just some other cracks working off of it, then I refer to it as that. If you have cracks which wind up being interconnected and there's a shorter spacing, then I'm referring to it as alligator cracking. In this case, the longitudinal crack is the initial type of crack that we get here, and then it progresses into the true alligator. Now we're at the end of this test section, and this ends the video for test section 1, 2.